How's it going, YouTube? As promised, I'm going to be doing the deck profile for BT13. I've borrowed some of the Magnamons to be able to do the updated list, and I'll go through like the quick things that have changed since EX4. Start things off, we'll go with the eggs. So that's where the game starts. 4 Wanyu, because it's the best generic blue egg, and then 1 Upamon because you don't really have jamming ever anymore in this deck, so you don't need the Demi-V, so this is the new 5th egg. Stuff not having sources does come up sometimes, so it is kind of useful. Go for the 1-offs. This one's the draw Vmon. You never warp into the All Force, but the draw power comes up early. It's one of the best opening eggs to go in raising, and then we don't unsuspend that much, so I'm only down to 1 EX4 and Vmon. The memory is nice to go over if you're going into a Magnamon after something's purged down, but I'm really only just running it as a 1-off because it doesn't need to be much more. 3 jamming V because we don't have Fire Rockets, so you don't need the jamming as much. This really is just there as something to free play off of the new Magnamon float and get early chip damage in if you're missing your level 4s. Also, since jamming is so inconvenient, a lot of people have to almost treat it like a second blocker to try and clear the board. So we're running 3 of these to be annoying. You could run it as 4, but we do need the search power, so we have 4 of the BT8 Vmon. Searches your 2 colors, searches everything pretty much that's above level 3, so it's my favorite of the lot. I really wish this would get an alt art. Instead they just keep giving us the full art and then giving everything else alt arts instead. Speaking of, we've got 4 of the new BT12 one. This one is very good, but because you do have a couple of vaccines in here, it's not as good a searcher as the 2 color one, so it is a 4 of mostly for its end of turn DNA Digivolution, which does come up. With the level 4s, I wasn't fully sure on my ratios. I'm running 4 gold Vidramon from EX4. This was 1 Angemon, but right now it's back to 4 gold Vidramon just because I think the card is a lot better than Lydramon for the same things you use it for, to shrink stuff, kill your memory blockers, and also stun like slightly bigger bodies, rather than just only hitting level 4s, which does come up but isn't as relevant. Running 3 of the old Magnamon because the power is nice, but it feels kind of bad sometimes to suck it up with a Mermaid. So we're running 3 of these and 4 of the new one. This could change either way. I think 7 is fine. Having 3 cost Evos in the back feels pretty bad. This one's obviously a better one to go in the back, but I like having 2 cost Evos to set up a yellow source if you need to drop options, because we're kind of running this as a shrink build rather than a rush list. So that's the current list below for the 4s. For the 5s, as I said before, running a 1-off Mermaid. This one could go up. It is a very cool thing that you can combo off with a Kaiser Nail, where it can then take up a level 3 or 4 to then basically make your Evo cost 1 because you're gaining the 2 memory back. Running 2 Shaco. This is supposed to be 3, but I couldn't find the 3rd one, so we have a Chimera. I'll be turning this into a 3rd Shaco because Shaco is busted and staples together bad deck building. For the level 6s, 2 Magnet X Antibody and 2 of the Kuzuha. Kuzuha is like the new spice for the deck that really got me back into playing armor. I was kind of ignoring it for a while because it wasn't doing anything, but this card just gives you so much more freedom to do fun stuff. Lets you play any 5 cost option without paying its cost, and then you get to play out a body that's level 4 or lower. If you're using Kaiser Nail, then you can bring out the Mermaid and a level 4 at the same time, which then gives you the 1 cost Evo as a result. Very, very cool card, and is the reason I'm playing this deck. Then we have a 1-of Shine Greymon Ruin Mode, because it goes over both your level 6s. Can lock out the turn for a game, recovers +1. Is a busted card, and we have ways to do the minus 10k lockout if you have enough memory. So that is our 5s and 6s. Then options, 1 of Ice Wall because it's at 1, therefore we play it at 1. 1 Awakening. This could potentially go up to 2, but it's kind of clunky to use with Kuzuha because as much as you can play it for free, you have to have the armor out on the field in order to get its effect first, otherwise it's just a way of playing out a body. Reinforce can't be played with the Kuzuha, which is a bit annoying, but it lets you play Ruin Mode in the same turn if you're cracking it in the second, and sometimes you heal in something stupid in security and get to get +1 off of it, so we do run it. We are at 1 of Spiral Masquerade. This used to be at 2 in EX4, but it has shrunk down to 1 because we're running a new option card instead that is kind of just a meta call. Shout out to Liam, he figured out some things, so we've changed up our ratios. This is really cool if you're winning and you have a bunch of bodies, it blows up stuff selectively. And this is a tech slot that you could cut at any time. Lets you heal +1 or trash a card of security. Playing it off of Kuzuha for free is really cool because you're evoing and effectively guaranteeing a net 1 swing in either direction. Shrinking stuff is very funny, so Megalospark, it's 5 cost, can play it for free. Could be 4 if you have a yellow Tamer. And it lasts until the end of your opponent's turn, so it is your alt tier Alphamon as well. If you just double tap it with something, their protection will disappear before this does, so it will kill them on the start of their turn, which is incredibly annoying for them. And also, if something hits it in security, if it's an unsuspender, it probably won't want to swing again because it's now been shrunk down. Kaizenel lets you play out your level 5s and a 4s off the Kuzuha, very, very strong. Lets you float out into a new blocker if you need to play a Magnamon from sources, and is very, very cool. And then the card that we talked about before, Sorai, is the new one that is a 3 of. This used to be a Megadeth and a Spiral Masquerade and then a 1 of Sorai because I didn't have 3 Kaizenels. But the meta call is that Sorai is busted and we should run it as often as possible. So this is at 3, and they just released the new gold alt art for it, so I'm going to try and bling this out. But yeah, this is the option cards. There's a lot of them. You could probably cut this for another level 5 if you wanted, or this because it's quite expensive. I want to run Heaven's Control, but it's really, really hard to justify playing 2 cost, 1 cost, or anything that's above 5. Because, well, not 2 costs. The 1 cost or anything above 5 is kind of difficult to justify because Kuzu can't play it for free and she doesn't get the extra splash off of it as easily. So we're kind of locked down to 5. If I could run more Megalospark, I would, but we can't, so I don't. 2 Davis because it's a blue deck, searches basically everything. We're not running the Lydramon anymore, so it's only ever going to be a single hit rather than 2, but you can search it off of this Vmon, so it's good. 2 Daiken. Card is busted, lets you restand everything that's not a Magnamon, lets you restand your Chimeras, and gives you free memory. You don't have the Lydramon, so you won't gain 2 memory as much anymore. This used to be the BT12 Davis, because then it would set up a guaranteed 4 memory if you had the Daiken and the Davis, even if your board got cleared, but instead we're running a 1-off Cody, because Cody enables your yellow sources if you can't afford to evo into something yellow to play something. So Cody is our new tech slot for the Tamers. And yeah, this is basically what I'm going to be running for BT13 alongside a different deck that I'm building on the down low, and you'll see a profile for that when it hits the channel. But yeah, this is my EX4 and BT13 list. See ya.